Hey guys, what's going on? This is Deadly. I just finished up my 12-hour broadcast, so I'm doing some questions and answers this week, some Ask Deadly stuff. I know I missed that. It's usually on Sundays, so I will do my best for next week to kind of keep things pretty consistent. So if you guys want to know how this thing works, all you gotta do is leave some questions in the comment section below of this video, and I will read some of them off and do my best to answer as many as I can in about 10 minutes or so. So let's get started. The first question comes from Siggy Nick. Have you ever encountered more hackers on servers recently? I have. I died to a lot of hackers by going uncon in 1 or 2 shots, and then when I wake up I have full color, and this has happened around 6 or 8 times, but it's getting annoying. Thoughts? I try to play on private servers that are patrolled often, so if anything does happen, then it gets reported fairly fast to the admins, and I think that's really critical. If you play on public hives, it's pretty much the Wild West. You're gonna have people doing exploits, duping, glitching, hacking. Not on every single server, so I'm not gonna blanket label all of the publics as bad, but most of the public servers are just not patrolled or enforced, so you're gonna have a lot of that. My suggestion to you, or to anybody that is experiencing these types of issues, is just find a private hive community that you like, and then just play there consistently. Next question comes from Wicktorg. What do you think about the damage from zombies? For me, they are way too OP. I was in Tizzy military base, and I had 4,000 blood, and suddenly a zombie hit me 3 times, and boom, you are dead. After that, I was standing for 1 minute hitting by a zombie, and I wasn't dead. Plus the damage from close sometimes are 2 hits and they will ruin it. Okay, so zombies and wolves do some health and blood damage, but primarily they do bone damage. So if you get hit in the arm, you're gonna break it. Hit in the head, it does a significant amount of bone damage. And the bone damage, you don't really get to physically see as a color. It usually is represented by a fractured arm or leg. But if you get hit in the chest or the head, it does a lot of damage without breaking a limb. So you can go unaware of actually being near dead all the time. My suggestion to you is whenever you get hit by a zombie and you see a slight blue flash on your screen, or if your character makes a noise like a groan, that is a sign that your character has low bone damage. So every single time you log into a server, your character will also let out a scream. If he does that, you need some morphine and splint. Now, on to the zombies. I think everyone can say that zombies are really powerful right now, not because of them working correctly in the game, but because if you get a massive quantity of them and they're desyncing everywhere, it's almost impossible to really deal with them efficiently because they're just swinging their arms everywhere. So I think the quantity of zombies is good, and I actually like the damage on the zombies. All I would like to see from the zombie mechanics is them getting a little bit smoother and working better with players and also interacting with each other. So fix the lag, fix the bugginess with the zombies, but keep the damage and keep the quantity. In fact, increase the quantity, and that would be nice. So zombies are good to be powerful. They need to be strong, but you're kind of fighting against the game right now, and that's the current issue with the zombies. We got some rapid fire questions coming from Real Gamma Gaming. Number 1, will you still interact with your subscribers when you get a lot more, like in the Q&A? Of course, it's important to any community on YouTube or Twitch to be interacting with your community. You can't just neglect them. It's an important part of what we do here, and it will always be number 1 on my list to make sure that you guys, I interact with you guys either on social media or here during the weekly Ask Deadly episodes or in the Twitch chat. So don't worry, that is always my number 1 concern. Number 2, will you ever play Arma 3 on video? I have in the past, playing Breaking Point, Edict, and King of the Hill mods, and also Battle Royale and things like that. So just go into my channel and type Arma 3 and some videos should pop up. Will I ever do meetups in-game so subscribers can roll with you sometimes? Every Saturday on the live stream, I roll with subscribers for Twitch, and you can get involved. We allow up to 25 people to participate every Saturday morning. So go to the link in the description box below to learn a little bit more about my subscription package on Twitch. It might be worth it for you. Next question comes from DeathToll DayZ. I often run into you on a certain server, probably talking about DayZ Underground EU. However, a lot of the time when you are streaming, that server is very low population but grows steadily. For the sake of entertainment on the stream, do you have multiple servers that I play on, or do I just stick to one server even if it's a low pop? This is actually kind of a confusing question because I always play on servers that are full. So first-person servers that are full in the morning time, and there's only a few of them, but I will never play on a server that has under 40 people on it at all times. So just keep that in mind. You might be thinking of a different YouTuber and not me, because if I realize that the server is low pop, I will never play there, because it's a waste of my time and it's a waste of everybody else's time as well. During the Derp Squad days, though, it is a little bit different because I'm looking for servers with like 30 pop, and then we all jump on, because if the server has 30 people, I'm bringing 25 people to that server. It's going to be full and bumping really quickly. So maybe you're thinking about that, but I think you might be slightly misinformed. This is going to be a fun question. What are your thoughts on Silo's What's Wrong with DayZ video? Well, I watched it and then I left a comment and then I shared it on Twitter, because although I didn't necessarily agree with the first 5 minutes of the video, there were points in there that I could relate to, and I think all DayZ players could relate to as well. As in adding the inertia system, the stamina system, sway not being very good, working on making sure that vehicles are at least just as good as Arma 2 DayZ mod, and just being overly passionate about DayZ. So at the last few minutes of the video, a lot of what he was saying I do agree with, and I think most of the DayZ community agrees with as well, but the initial emotion and the negativity that surrounds the video, and specifically the comment section, and also previous dealings between content creators that I had no idea anything about, I'd stay away from drama if I can, is what caused a lot of problems. So the moment that started happening on my social media feeds, I completely disconnected from the discussion, because the moment that something starts to get more emotional, it's a dialogue that I don't want to be participating in. I'm just trying to look objectively of what the video was trying to give out. And I think that's just DayZ players being super passionate and obviously frustrated with certain things that the developers are doing. And obviously the developers are frustrated as well, and they're just trying to do their best. So I think a lot of people from what I've talked to from other creators took issue with just the overwhelming amount of negativity coming from the comment section. And that's hard as a creator to justify. Like, you know, maybe if you're enticing people to become negative and spread hate, then that's one thing. But I didn't really get too much of that vibe from that. I just think I think in a way it's all been blown out of proportion, and a lot of emotion got involved there. Whereas if you can strip away all of the passion and emotion and just look at what's discussed, it isn't a terrible video, and I think most people can agree. So that's my opinion on it. I shouldn't be afraid to have an opinion on it, because I think I'm just trying to look at it in an objective way. So with all this drama that goes on sometimes between different creators, let's just leave it at that and move on. So I did want to publicly address this on a QA, because I was getting a lot of questions about it. Next question comes from Stronk. Do you think that Recoil in DayZ is a little bit too much right now, particularly regarding the AKM? I feel that most of the time burst/automatic is completely useless in current build of the game. Yeah, the recoil for certain weapons can be a little insane sometimes, but that is all going to be reworked in the beta phase of the game, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. The developers have already talked about redoing the entire weapon systems, including sway, so that will definitely be probably something that's on the list. I would like to see something a little bit similar to Arma 3's AKM, maybe amp the recoil a little bit more, but along those lines. If you guys have played Tanoa, then you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a little bit more reasonable. So also, I would like to see some consistency across all of the weapons, because right now some bolt actions you can pull back the bolt while you're ADSing, and some bolts you can't, and there's no logical explanation for why that is. So the entire weapon system needs to be reworked and will be reworked in the future. Next question comes from Kells. Would you like to see the north of Chernarus become covered in snow? That's not a terrible idea. I think if they added like a massive mountain in the deep northwest, they could do something along those lines, but I know that snow will never be like a concurrent thing in the game. There will be snow like there is rain in the game, so you'll physically see snow falling, but it won't pile onto the floor. So maybe they can do something like that. It would be a cool idea, because they would just have to texture the ground differently and just make those areas colder than the rest of Chernarus, which I think is reasonable. The last question comes from Cohen. What do you think about the idea of players spawning randomly with random selection of residential clothing and loot? It has always bugged me that every new character you make on the server always spawns with the exact same thing, and I think it would add a whole new level of immersion to the game if each character is a little bit different than the last. Well, you gotta be really careful about that. So what items would we be talking about? Pistols, ammunition, guns, lockpicks, things like that? Like, maybe. Like, I wouldn't be mad if they added that feature in, but I actually was thinking about this the other day, that I think they should allow you to select 2-slot chest clothing items like long sleeve shirts and sweaters and other items like that instead of just the t-shirts. I think that would add a little bit of diversity, as well as hats. So hats, sweaters, and 2-slot jackets and different pants options I think would be good, and also different shoes, because let's be honest, boots and shoes in DayZ, they're pretty useless. They don't have a purpose. So until they do, they're purely cosmetic, and I think it'd be a good idea to give players the options to have more cosmetic choices at the very beginning. And I don't think having access to an additional 4 rags is going to break anything when it comes to the game. Well guys, that's it for this week's Ask Deadly. If you guys have some questions, please do leave them in the comment section below. And also be sure to check out the daily live streams every single morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and Sundays at noon.